It is so much easier to forget the vision of your future than to remember it, because life is busy and so many things happen and people react and things go on in your life. And when I first started doing the work from Dr. Joe Dispenza, I remembered so well that I had so many questions. Whether I was doing the meditations right, how should I feel the feelings of my intention, the future that I want to create, if that future hasn't already happened yet. And something that really helped me in deepening my understanding of the practice of the work was listening to all of the testimonials by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Listening to the stories of these brave people telling about how they overcame such challenging pasts or just such challenges really inspired me. When I was listening to the testimonials, I was bringing up the elevated emotions that I wanted to feel during my meditation, because I connected to the stories of these people telling how they overcame their challenges. And that made me feel so much emotion. Like I felt so much love for these people, and I started to feel gratitude. And I understood that this is what I had to bring with me in my own meditation and in my own practice. That one of the most important lessons for me when I was watching the testimonials is that I saw that these people were showing up for themselves every single day, even though sometimes it was very hard to do the practice again. And they also didn't want to do it every single morning. And so what I really realized is that it's actually so much easier to give into fear than to choose love. And I know this so very well, this feeling of when life is not really going your way, or something difficult just happened, or a challenge came up, or you have to respond to a difficult email. It's so much easier to give into the emotion of fear, or feeling the victim of life, or feeling sadness, or feeling like this is so unfair, or frustration. It is so much easier to give into those emotions than to deliberately choose to feel the emotions of gratitude, to feel love, to feel passion, to feel inspiration for life, to feel joy for life. And I think that that's the most difficult part of the work, but also the most rewarding part of the work. And this is really something that I learned from watching the testimonials. This is really something that spoke to me, because I think it's so much easier to give into the emotions with a lower frequency than to remember that you want to create a future with elevated emotions. And so what I also really heard from watching all the testimonials is that these people were making sure that they did not only feel the elevated emotions of their intention or their future just in the morning when they were doing their meditation. They were also making sure that they were reminding themselves of that emotion throughout the day. And this really inspired me to try and make like reality anchors for myself, to remember what kind of emotions I wanted to feel and remember my future. And at some point I asked everybody around me to send like their most favorite testimonial, and whenever I was showering I would listen to a testimonial. Whenever I was driving I would put on a testimonial, just to connect back to the feelings that I wanted to feel for my future self, for the intention that I had. And this really helped me to like shower myself in the work. And it really helps to hear other people talk about what they had to go through and how they overcame themselves. And it brings just so much inspiration to also want to show up for yourself and bring the best version out there for yourself. And something else that I really thought was so interesting to hear from the testimonials is that everybody's journey with doing the work is very different. And I heard people who had like spontaneous remissions, or they had something very mystical happening to them, or like they had a big pop. And then other people told that they were healed after doing just a normal meditation, or they were not like, there was not something crazy happening to them, but they just woke up feeling different and feeling healthy. And I think that's so good to know because so often I wanted to know how other people felt and like, how was your meditation and what did you experience in your meditation? But it doesn't always have to be that you experience something profound. Like, it doesn't need to be something big in order for you to heal. And I really love that Dr. Joe Dispenza always says, there's no such thing as a bad meditation. And I feel like after watching the testimonials, that is so true because everybody experiences the work differently. And so what I learned from this is that you really don't have to compare yourself to somebody else's experience in their meditation if you're doing it right or wrong. It's just different for everybody. And I think that the moment that you choose to show up for yourself and actually do the work, that is all that matters. And you're doing so well for even choosing for yourself to sit down and create a future for yourself that you choose by yourself. I think that's the most beautiful thing that you can do. And so something else that really stood out to me from watching the testimonials is that I used to think that sometimes I had a bad meditation where I was struggling with like thinking a lot while I was meditating, or I was battling with limiting beliefs, or I couldn't feel like the elevated emotions that I wanted to feel for my future. So I thought that was a bad meditation. And so when I was watching the testimonials, what I learned is that so many people were talking about that they had these kind of experiences and that they were actually very insightful and decluttering. And because you had that meditation, you knew what you were struggling with and you were able to choose a different emotion over the emotion that you were feeling in the meditation. So there's no such thing as a bad meditation, even though sometimes it might feel that way, that you're thinking a lot or you're struggling with something, but that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. You're actually doing everything right. And it's like an invitation for yourself to step into a different emotion. Something else that really helped me deepen my understanding of the work was watching testimonials together with some of my friends. And then afterwards, talking about all the key points that everybody heard during the testimonial, because I feel like everybody always like hears different things. And so somebody would say like, I really heard that he was tuning into the feeling of what it would be like to already be healed, or to already have that job, or to have that relationship in their life. And then other people would hear the story of that this person was actually working a lot and he was doing this aside from his work. So you don't have to be a monk on a mountain in order to do the work. And this is something that also really stood out to me from listening to the testimonials. I learned so much from the testimonials that you also don't have to meditate like 5 hours a day in order to deliberately create a new future for yourself or to create new opportunities in your life. Of course you can do that. That's like magical, but it's also possible if you do a meditation in the morning and then try to remember feeling the feelings of your future throughout the day in like little moments when you're driving your car or when you're going to the bathroom, or just like little pause moments where you're like, let me tune into the feelings of my future now. And that is something that also really helps me to connect with my intentions and my desired future, is to remember it multiple times a day, because it is so much easier to forget the vision of your future than to remember it, because life is busy and so many things happen and people react and things go on in your life. It's so much easier to forget the future that you're creating for yourself than to actually remember it. So that is something that really helps me. I have pop-ups on my phone to remind me of feeling the feelings of my future. Or when you're driving your car, just like put on some beautiful music and envision yourself in your future reality. Or when you're drinking your coffee, just take a little moment to feel the feelings of the future. And I really think that testimonials are a very good way to also feel inspired. It really helped me to feel the feelings that I wanted to feel and bring up those elevated emotions. Because these people are so brave and they tell their stories so raw and vulnerable. Like, it really opened a lot for me as well. And then I was really able to connect to the feelings that I wanted to feel. And so the result of watching all of those testimonials is that I now have a playlist on my phone that I just put on whenever I shower, whenever I drive the car, or whenever I'm doing something practical where I don't really have to think about. And I'm listening to the testimonials and just like feeling those emotions. And I have testimonials which I love so much. I will share some of my favorite testimonials with you guys in the description down below. And I would really love to know your favorite testimonials. So if you would love to share, leave a comment down below. I would love to watch all of your favorite testimonials too. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.